Imagine this. You need a new pair of running shoes. You know mind, so you open your phone, tap a button, and 2 days later, a box shows up. Wasn't possible. What if getting higher Saturday, 3 different stores, and all that, you paid more for them than you would today? Place, that was America not that long ago. And let's start with someone named Gary. Gary, and if you ask Gary about shopping before the internet, he'll back in 1994, Gary needing fancy, just something decent. He'd actual paper for one at a store called Circuit City. It was listed all, but here's the thing. When he got there, the model in the comparable model, $349. Gary stood there doing math in his head. Was that a good price? Was he getting ripped off? He had no way to know. He had no phone to check, no website to compare, no reviews to read. The only information Gary had was whatever the salesperson told him. So he bought it for $349. And he drove home hoping he hadn't made a mistake. This is exactly how most Americans shopped for most of the 20th century. You picked a store, you trusted what was in stock, you paid what they asked. And if you wanted to compare prices, that was a full-day project. You have to drive to store A, write down the price on. When a manufacturer made a product, let's say a blender, it didn't go straight to you. It went to a distributor. The distributor marked it up. Then it went to a regional wholesaler, another markup. Then it reached the retail store, one more markup. By the time that blender hit the shelf, it had passed through 3 or 4 sets of hands. Every single one of them took a cut, and you paid for all of it. Gary didn't think about that when he bought his stereo. Nobody really did. That was just how products worked. That was just the price. Then there was the issue of competition, or the lack of it. If you lived in a smaller town in, say, 1990, you might have had 2 options for buying electronics, maybe 3. Those stores didn't need to fight hard for your business. He drove 20 minutes to Circuit City, spent an hour inside, drove home. That's nearly 2 hours just to buy one thing. If he wanted to price compare, add another hour, maybe 2. People weren't just paying money, they were paying time. And time is the one thing you can't get back. So most people made a decision quickly, paid what the store asked, and moved on. The stores knew this. They counted on it. High prices stayed high because the effort it took to fight them wasn't worth it. But it wasn't just time and middlemen. There was something else going on, something more psychological. When you don't know what the real price of something is, you just accept whatever you're told. Gary had no benchmark, no comparison, no data. The price tag said $349. The salesperson said it was a good deal. Gary wanted to get home. So $349 felt fine. This is called price opacity. When prices are hidden, when you can't easily compare them, sellers have enormous power over buyers. And for most of American retail history, then Amazon did something that changed retail forever. They expanded. Electronics, toys, tools, clothing, everything. And they started using what's called dynamic pricing, adjusting prices constantly based on supply, demand, and what competitors were charging. Suddenly, the blender that used to sit on a shelf with one price tag attached had its price updated hundreds of times a day. Competition wasn't just between local stores anymore. It was between millions of sellers across the entire country in real time. Prices dropped. Gary could now look up that stereo receiver model, see what 12 different sellers were charging, read 400 reviews, and choose the one that made the most sense. In 5 minutes, from his couch. The middlemen didn't disappear overnight, but their power started